Buckle your seatbelts for this one, folks. We have uncovered something here.
Again, the ACLJ work. This is what happens. You unearth things that you never thought you would. And the government, because of our FOIA campaigns, they have to respond to some things.
Yes.
And when they do, sometimes documents come out that are unexpected.
This is the memo. At the Iranian ambassador's residence, there is a off-the-record, was not so off-the-record now, by the way, off-the-record conversation with Foreign Minister Zarif, who is still the foreign minister of Iran, with former U.S. ambassadors and policy analysts at this informal off-the-record meeting where they undercut, where Zarif's notes, the notes from this are what Zarif said. He said that basically the Trump administration was conducting foreign policy by vanity for photo ops. We don't, is what he said about Iran. He said North Korean foreign minister said the agreement with the U.S. He said that Pompeo can't get the peace declaration that Trump promised. We just had Mike Pompeo on, who was horrified about this. The U.S. says no peace deal, and the U.S. will reimpose sanctions, but the condition is zero missiles, zero nuclear enrichment. This is what the administration wants. They won't get it. He then, one of the other most shocking things to me, he states in this meeting, I agree with Putin that the U.S. is excessively weaponizing the dollar and that it's leading to the world pulling away from the dollar as currency. It goes on and on and on about how it needs to stay in the JCPOA. And, of course, he says that, don't worry, Iran's not going to develop a nuclear weapon anyways. We found this because we went to federal court.
It shows that there was a secret, off-the-record meeting that happened between these formal officials and Zarif.
It's galling, it's dangerous, and it's un-American. They were trying to cut our knees out from under us. They were trying to stop us from what we were doing. They never, in that sense, fully left office, Jay, and that is both un-American and dangerous.
When you have a government in power, like we did with President Trump or President Obama, as a private citizen, you cannot undercut and attempt to undercut the foreign policy of the United States. That's number one. Number two, they were actively trying to undercut our foreign policy. We had pulled out of the JCPOA. We'd already pulled out of this Iran deal. And they were going in to have these off-the-record meetings discussing it, assuming, and again, this is an assumption, that they even get so far into looking at how Russia is perceiving the United States in all of this.
Clearly, it's a runaround from the administration that is in power, and they're going back to former administrations that they, and this would be my assumption, that they perceive as allies or somebody that they can actually have a conversation with and get something done outside and around the current administration.
The particular document that you have now unearthed through amazing work, they've told the Iranian leadership that this ship will pass, and if they're just patient, they can just hang on and continue to terrorize their own people and deny their own people their basic human rights, that life will return to normal if President Trump is ultimately gone. It is both indecent and un-American, Jay. It wouldn't shock me to find that that's going on even in other places during our time in office as well, and we don't yet know about it. I hope the ACLJ will continue to do the hard work in FOIA to get that information out. The American people need to know that there are people inside of their government who leave government and then work against the interests of the duly elected leaders of this government.
In the memo itself, Zarif says, according to the State Department's record, so they're saying this is Zarif's words. I mean, that we can only give you, this is documents.
It's an official government document.
It's an official government document. It's been unclassified, okay? It says this. When Trump left the JCPOA, Iran had a meeting with EU officials and foreign ministers, and we were asked if we were talking behind their backs with the Americans. So the Iranians had a meeting with EU officials saying, hey, are you going to the Americans behind our back? We can't, is what Zarif said. There are no sunset clauses in the JCPOA because technically the JCPOA was already in effect, but that doesn't matter as Iran will never seek an atomic weapon. Now, the problem with all of that, Andy, is it's already been proven that they were violating the JCPOA, and yet they were still bound by it because the Europeans were, quote, holding them to it. That never became true either.
President Trump pulls out of the agreement, and now instead of trying to support the United States policy, we've got officials, former ambassadors and officials of the United States, contrary to law, contrary to American law, purporting to negotiate and to have secret meetings outside of official channels of communication to put in and to exercise their own diplomatic authority, which they don't have because they're not in power.
We asked for conversations and memos that involve Zarif. the real question here is not how we got it, because we got it through litigation. The question is, how did the State Department get this? And when did they get this? That's the real question here.